Yeah, I suppose it was a big shift actually for an engineer to go into a sales role. But my primary focus at that time when I came across was really to sort of take what it was I was looking for as a customer and bring that to my sales role. So, the concept, and you read the books of trusted advisor and, solution selling, that was my approach to my customer base when I started selling.
In part 1, you heard how Michael made the leap from engineering to sales, and how focusing on value over volume helped him win trust early on. But part 2 is where things really open up. We get into how he transitioned into marketing, what it takes to build a real go-to-market engine, and why most orgs still get it wrong. We talk about consultative selling, aligning sales with product and marketing, and how AI is reshaping how top teams operate. If you're in sales, marketing, RevOps, or anywhere near GTM, this one's packed with insight you can actually use. You mentioned that you went into a product marketing role, right?
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because you've gone now engineering, so you've understood it from the customer, you've moved into a sales role, you've sold to the customer, now you've moved into a different part of the funnel, right, of the marketing side. Walk me through, what did that allow you to learn, and how are you now applying that from a sales perspective?
Yeah. Great question. And I think I was fortunate enough to do some training. I got some education around leadership courses and marketing at my time at NHP. And what I found when I moved from my first sales role into the product management and marketing is that the pace was a little bit different. In sales, it was quick, you needed to respond. It was always, you're kind of always on, and it was always about, I'd say the day-to-day transactional, but it was that quick response time for customers. It was creating the value. You get in, you make sure that you follow up quickly. When I moved into the product management role, it was a macro view of the markets. So you start to take a 20,000 foot lens of a market, not an individual customer. And at the time I was a product manager, so I was looking at the products that we would bring into the market and how customers would use them. And then, as the role evolved, it was about, well, how effectively can I communicate that message to the sales org?
So your role fundamentally was to influence a sales team now.
So historically, the role was very much about that. So when I first stepped into the product management role, and I call it a product management role, we used to say our primary target was to educate the sales team on how to go to market. That role did evolve around roughly circa 2015, where we called them product marketing managers, and we sort of disconnected our product marketing management team, managers, from the sales team. We kind of put a divide in and said, actually, we want to start going more of a customer lens and start communicating more out to the market to build that brand awareness. So I mentioned before, we've got a very big sales force. We've always been sort of a sales orientated customer engagement, get the product out to the sales team will get it out to the customer. Obviously with the investment that we've made as an organization, but also the market around digitization and all these fantastic tools like social medias, podcasts, there's different medias to get content out. So we started looking at ways that we could not only enable our sales team to be effective at selling to customers, but also start connecting with them. So the role evolved. And I think through that journey, I definitely learned a lot around marketing strategies, tactics, buying journeys. I think I sort of sunk my teeth into the customer's buying journey and understanding the stages of the cycle and when to sort of serve the relevant content based on what part of the cycle they were and when did they want to engage with us, and tried to implement some strategies that would not only enable the sales team, but also encourage customers, nurture customers through that journey.
So, and I love all this, right? Because I think, again, the fact that you're talking about buyer's journey, understanding how to enable them to go through that process in a more effective way, I think should be the top of mind for every GTM leader, right? But now that you are essentially the chief sales officer and you're running the sales motion for the organization, I'd love to unpack with you, you've come into this role, where do you see the biggest opportunity for growth with your sales force? Like, is it digital? Is it AI? I mean,
look, Currently, the focus is trying to simplify the tech stack a little bit. We've invested a lot in our own CRM CE. We've developed it. The 101 piece of feedback you constantly get from the sales guys is too much admin.
Yeah.
It's too much back office work. And the focus is, for me at least, moving into the role, having experienced it as a state manager, was really to try and break down some of those barriers and try and simplify the selling process. I'm a big believer that the selling process hasn't changed in years.
Not at all.
So if we can just simplify what we're asking for them and also help, encourage them to use tools that are going to make them more effective, that we'll get A, better visibility into our pipeline, our forecasting, but B, hopefully these tools that they're using, they're using them to enable them to be more effective selling. They're not using it as a tick box or an administrative tool. We really, and so for me, the focus is on making sure that the sales managers are equipped to manage and coach their sales teams, and that the sales teams are working on the right tasks, and that they can see what they're working on is generating the right level of revenue.
And, obviously you've got, because it's such a large sales team, I think this is a burning question for a lot of sales leaders at the moment. It's what are you doing to kind of continue to enable your sales force to keep getting better? Because you can run training programs, you've got the CRM, but there are changes happening in the world, right? Especially the way that the salespeople are interacting with their customers. How are you approaching it from an enablement perspective?
Yeah, look, it's a great question, Lou. It's an evolving space for us. The current focus for us is to really sort of get down to simplifying the selling motion and sort of shift the team to introduce the right healthy habits. But really the focus moving forward will be around the coaching and development side of the team. So we, through our partners and through our own journey, we've gone through different training courses that we've done. So, a big focus on our whole organisation is the coaching and development of staff. And we feel that, if we can invest the right level of time into our managers to get the right outcomes out of our staff, there's different schools of thought around the different selling methodologies that you could train on. We've adopted sort of the trusted advisor model for a while, and we ran through some training models around that. It's really about making sure that you don't set and forget, and that you embed those training methodologies in the day-to-day one-on-one sessions and the coaching sessions.
It's really interesting, right? Because your revenue mix, because of the type of products that you're selling, there'd be a lot of existing customers just buying your different SKUs, right? How do you motivate your team to leverage those consultative trusted advisor tactics when it's the same customers buying from them, or are they responsible to go and find net new customers or net new logos?
We've fundamentally, for the last probably 5 or 6 years at least, and COVID sort of drove a lot of this, to be fair, sort of bunkered down and focused on protecting the install base, servicing the customers. We didn't have a focus on trying to find net new logos or customers. To your point, there's a lot of demand for the products that we sell. We've got a very strong
a great brand, right? Yeah, it's a leading brand.
It's definitely becoming a lot more competitive. But the unique thing about the company that I work for is that we've got multiple different channels to market, and often one channel to market will influence the buying behavior and decisions of another. So we've got teams that focus on consultants and do specification work. We've got teams that service our contracting business. We've got teams that service our board builders. We need to work as a team to sell. It's not an individual contributor that's going to help us hit the number. It's a team effort. So, we're putting in strategies to grow new customer base now. We've got a good focus on certain channels. And we've restructured the team in some areas already so that we've got the service component of account management as one division, which historically was done by one individual. We've got contractor-focused demand generating BDs that are now have got a scope to generate demand as opposed to service demand.
Yeah.
So that sort of enables the team to have a bit more of a focus on growing business, finding net new business.
So you've really segmented your customer base into categories and then built your go-to-market function to really support each category.
Yeah, I'll take it back a step. So, going through the last 4 or 5 years, probably last 8 or so years, the company was a very strong foundation, spent a lot of times on the fundamentals, and really focused internally to get the company in a very strong position, which has set us up. And, we've been able to do some really fantastic things with that. We're now pivoting, and since January this year, we've really started to shift our focus to a customer channel-led selling approach. So the whole organization has got that customer lens. So we have segmented by channel. So our selling organization is now channel-orientated. So specific customer types that they're dealing with. So, they're engaging with the same types of customers, same types of personas. So from a sales engagement standpoint, they're becoming a lot more efficient at the customer types because they're learning and they're experiencing that same sort of customer challenge. So they're going to get better at their role rather than trying to cover a group.
That's incredible. So that's more of an align. So you're trying to match your go-to-market team that's more really channel focused, so they have a better understanding of the challenges they're facing so they can service them in a more effective way.
Correct, but it's not. It goes beyond the sales team. It's an organisational change that we're making.
Okay.
So we're looking at how customers interact with our own organisation. We do have a lot of repeat customers. We've got a lot of good partnerships out there. So we want to ensure that it's all areas of our business are serving those customers the way they need to be served, because we do see differences in different customer types in what they need from us. So we just want to make sure that we tailor our service model and our go-to-market model to support those customers in the way that they need to be or that they're looking for from a partner like us.
Yeah, I can look. It seems like you've done a lot of strategic thinking over a number of years to get it to this model, right? And I love that you mentioned earlier simplifying this tech stack. I think and I speak to a lot of go-to-market leaders who are all saying the same thing. I think they went to a point where they got a bit fatigued, too much tech. Now they're having to simplify it. And now we're moving into the world of AI. And this is where I want to kind of really pick your brain. I mean, is this something that you're thinking about as a go-to-market leader of a pretty large sales force? I know it's the buzzword, but we're seeing it now, right?
Yeah,
We're seeing AI is playing an amazing role in many organizations' go-to-market function. Is this a conversation that you guys are having as an organization?
Yeah, look, so we've put a lot of investment into our digital stack, and we're a Microsoft partner with Microsoft, so
Copilot
Microsoft. So Copilot's embedded in
Dynamics.
In tools. Yeah, Dynamics. Yep. So as an organisation and as individuals within the organisation, we've enabled that. We've run coaching sessions around how to use IA to be more effective and efficient. I think it's about finding the right use cases and really using Copilot in the way I use Copilot today as my personal assistant.
Yeah.
It does a lot of the hard work for me when I want to do some market research and I want to get some quick feedback. I don't need to go and do the searching. I don't use Google anymore. I don't search on Google. I just go straight to my preferred chatbot.
And it's interesting, right? Because I think there's data showing that Google search trends are dropping because LLMs are increasing. Yeah. So now it's a transition for organizations. So how do we compete with that change, right? So what you've shared, I do the same. It's on my phone. I talk to it.
Yeah,
it's probably an unhealthy conversation I'm having with it every day.
I haven't got to the point where I'm having conversations with it, but it's definitely making me more effective.
Yeah.
And sort of what we try to impart is you've got tools there. How do they make you more efficient? And a good example of what I use it for is after customer visits, I'll make my notes, but I'll also just dictate while I'm driving to my next, dictate what my notes are, summarize my notes, and just make sure that I've got some detailed captured notes from a conversation that I'm having while I'm driving. And that's that dead time for a sales BD in between engagements that I'm working.
Love that.
So that's one way that we're using some of these new tools. Customer sentiment on conversations and things like that. We're looking at those sorts of things. I was actually just recently speaking to one of our Power BI liaisons around our forecast accuracy. And, we want to look at machine learning to predict what our pipeline and our health is going to look like. So we will experiment with things. I feel like there's a lot of buzz around that. It's about extracting the value and without going silly. But we've definitely got the fundamentals, the framework. The company's invested heavily in a digital framework that will enable us to leverage the data insights that we've got to deliver some better insights moving forward.
And are you finding that your sales force is experiencing a bit of anxiety as a result of AI and thinking potentially roles could be replaced, or are they not embracing AI?
Yeah, look, I feel like depends on the type of BD. I wouldn't say that they're feeling anxiety from it. I think the concept of the technology coming through, I feel like there's been a lot that's come through. So it can be overwhelming. There are some fantastic tools in there. It's about just finding the right use case for the organisation that fits. There was a Copilot plugin in CE, for argument's sake, and not for argument's sake, there was. We used it, we trialled it, we started logging all our emails to the opportunities, and it was fantastic as a sales manager, a state manager. I could go into opportunities, I could look at the highlights and get a really quick rundown of all the engagement, and it would pull it up for me. So these are the tools that are getting embedded in some of these digital stacks that, if they're used correctly, and I say that, the data you put in and the inputs you put in will drive the outcomes, then there will be benefits that come from it. And I think that's probably the tipping point, which is back to using the tools to drive better outcomes and being a sales professional. Focus on what you're putting in. Because if you put in the right things, you get better outcomes.
But I love, and this conversation for me continues to validate what I'm hearing. Like a lot of, you are right, the fundamentals have not shifted. Like if you look at the selling process, I argue, if you read Ogmandino's The Greatest Salesman in the World, which is probably 100 years old, the actual concept of the professional, the mindset, that hasn't shifted, right? And you are right, the fundamentals, if sales teams are still treating their CRM as an admin function and they're, it's too much, and I get it, there's a lot of time we spend, but the data is actually a critical piece in selling today, So I absolutely, I'm aligned with your thinking there. So now from a, future state perspective, and I know you probably might be thinking of this, but when you look into the future and you're thinking about the future of go-to-market, where do you feel the biggest change, or what do you think the biggest change will be from a go-to-market perspective that will really help shift the way you tackle, your customers' challenges and problems?
Oh, that's a great question, Lou. Hard to predict. I think, I try and have a lens of 2 to 3 years. And, I think the rate at which technology is shifting and customers' buying behaviour will continue to shift. I think it's probably more looking at the types of individuals that are being educated today coming through. We've both got children, mine a little bit younger than yours, but you think about how they seek information and how they interact, and whether the B2B relationship-driven engagements that we've come to adopt as part of our go-to-market strategy, whether in 5-10 years' time, whether that shifts to more of a digital interaction, because you've got people, engineers that can self-serve information. You can get all the information you want out of something like Copilot. Do I actually need to validate that with a human, or am I going to trust that what I put into AI is the information I get? So it's tough to answer because I'm not here to predict the future. I don't know. I think I can, but I do feel like creating that value and that human value is going to remain extremely important. How you deliver that is probably going to be an art that, from art to science, moving from a process to ensuring you're creating that value constantly will be something that will evolve, and we'll test the market and we'll continue to work on that.